I'd like to call to order the regular Township Board meeting for Chesterfield Township for Tuesday, November 25th, 2025, to order at 7 p.m. Could we all please stand, face the flag, and recite the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk Berry, would you call the roll?
Supervisor Kersten.
Here.
Treasurer Elliott. Here. Trustee Anderson.
Here.
Trustee Joseph.
Here.
Trustee Hornberger. Here. Trustee Vosberg. Here. Clerk Berry is here.
Item 4, the approval of agenda. The supervisor will make a motion to approve the agenda as presented with the removal of item 11D to return in 2 weeks, providing more clarity that has been requested. 11D, which was the addendum.
D as in boy.
D as in dog. Oh, hang on, let me catch up. I'm sorry, 11B, you are correct. 11B. 11B will return in 2 weeks once clarity's been received and offered to. Is that Trustee Anderson? Comments or questions from the board? Clerk Berry.
Supervisor Kersten.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Trustee Hornberger. Aye. Trustee Vosberg. Aye. Treasurer Elliott. Aye. Clerk Berry, aye.
Item 5, presentations tonight. There is a presentation tonight. Item 5A. Presentation by SEMCOG for Phase 2 of the Jefferson Pathway Project. SEMCOG, Ms. O'Leary, would you please come front and center? You have an entourage with you, as you always do. Welcome.
Oh, all right. It's red. Good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. Just to first, before we get to the check presentation, to thank you for your active participation in SEMCOG. We've had a number of you be very active with us over the years, including being the chair of SEMCOG a few years ago with Kathy Vosberg over here, but also Kathy Elliott, and now Supervisor Kersten is on our executive committee at SEMCOG. So we appreciate what they do for the organization. I think it makes our organization better to understand the issues and important things that you're doing in your community. So just a little background, SEMCOG is an association of local governments. We have 186 local governments that are members of our organization, but we're also a regional planning organization with representing almost 5 million people in Southeast Michigan. So we are both an association of local governments. We also have a lot of designations. One of that designation is a federal designation called the Metropolitan Planning Organization, or MPO, for transportation. We also have designations for water and air quality and economic development. But as the MPO, we facilitate a number of funding programs, including a $3 billion Transportation Improvement Program, or TIP, for our region, which is the federal funds that come into our region. We are often the connection between our local communities and essential data, information, and funding opportunities like the Transportation Alternatives Program. This is one of the essential federal programs. It's currently funded through the bipartisan infrastructure law that really is making a difference in our region. Just over the last 10 years that we've been tracking these projects where we've been investing those funds through SEMCOG, we've had $90 million invested in TAP funds for over 150 projects throughout Southeast Michigan. We appreciate our federal partners, including Congresswoman McLean and the Senators Peter and Slotkins in Washington, D.C., who have been supportive of these programs. I was saying earlier, we are going for reauthorization of the transportation program right now federally. So being able to show what good projects are happening in the great fiscal responsibility and stewardship you all are doing with our federal resources is really one of the reasons that we're here tonight. We want to celebrate a TAP project that was awarded to Chesterfield Township by SEMCOG's Regional Review Committee. So the Regional Review Committee is all elected officials from Southeast Michigan that are represented evenly across our region through that committee. And they have chosen that they want to prioritize both safety and closing gaps in our network of non-motorized, including sidewalks. So they see that your sidewalks and pathways projects and the ideas of being ADA accessible and providing connectivity to key destinations is really important. Having you all work in a phased approach in partnering with MDOT and SEMCOG is also seen as a real benefit. We think that your project is a great example of coordination and long-range planning between the township, Macomb County's vision, MDOT's vision, and SEMCOG. We think that closing the network along the region's major corridors is a priority, and Jefferson Avenue is one of those. But it's not just increasing connectivity along something like Jefferson, it's getting people to that regional connectivity and getting people safely from schools, from community centers to the regional connectivity. So that's one of the reasons that we liked and really wanted to approve this project for your community today. So with that, I just want to say congratulations, and you can see the check behind you. Maybe we can bring it out and get a picture with all of you to say congratulations. And Supervisor, I don't know if you want to add to that a little bit about the project.
First of all, yeah, I'll add to it. This is my right-hand person, Karen. This is my right-hand person, Karen, that kind of oversees this and applies it and works with you guys. And then as the township as a whole, when I first became supervisor, obviously you had reached out initially, and I've got to thank you and SEMCOG for inviting me in and educating me. And it's been a great relationship and partnership that you've forwarded with us. So I appreciate that. The township, obviously, one of the key goals, and not just me, but all the trustees and elected officials took a look at pathways and connectivity. And this was spot on. So in working with all of our elected officials, from senators, the state reps, the Senator Tell's office, Congressman Lisa McLean's office, and obviously Lisa St. Germain, who spends a lot of time here. And that support allows us an opportunity in these areas to expand. And this is just the beginning. We're not done. We have more work to do. But I appreciate your time, your effort, and SEMCOG's dedication to the township. You want to do a picture up here and get everybody up here that's involved and was supportive, or do you want us to bring it down there? Again, thank you, SEMCOG and Amy O'Leary, for showing up tonight, presenting that to us. Move on to item 6, department reports. Going to start with Treasurer Elliott tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Just a quick overview of the third quarter investment report. As you can see, Huntington Bank Investments is our biggest relationship. We have Robinson Capital. We have a CDARS relationship with them, which is a very great overnight program. And then we have the Comerica Bank relationship and some other small relationships. Amanda, go ahead and switch to the next slide. And in this slide, you'll see a little bit more of a breakdown of how the funds are for general fund, public safety, water, and sewer. This also tells you the weighted average yield. We're still holding close to about 4%. But as many know, the fixed income rates are coming down there. Probably headed lower, so we'll try to keep that rate up higher. Mostly this is in T-bills and very secure investments. Amanda, go ahead and go to that last slide. And just along those same lines, you'll see that the interest income in comparison, September 30th of 25 versus September 30th of 24, you'll see that we're still very much earning some great interest rates to help offset some of the expenses in the general fund, public safety, water and sewer. However, that is not as strong as it was a year ago, along those same lines with the interest rates coming down over the last year. Thank you, Mr. Supervisor.
Clerk Berry.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. A couple of updates, one from elections and then one from the clerk's office. From the clerk's office, our Laserfiche implementation program is moving forward. We have had recent meetings with our systems engineers to advance plan for our Laserfiche implementation, which is scheduled for January. Primary focus of this meeting was establishing consistent document naming conventions and determining how the metadata will be captured. These standards are necessary to support the development of an automated workflow that will process documents as they are imported into the repository. Secondly, the implementation status and timeline. We are on schedule to begin implementation with the Clerk's Department in January. At that time, we will run through all of the workflows and processes to ensure proper functionality and address any issues that might arise. Our goal is to expand implementation to additional departments in the second quarter of 2026, pending the successful completion of the initial phase. Third, we had a benchmarking visit to Macomb Township. Macomb Township is probably the most advanced in terms of they have been doing records management on a systematic basis longer than most other communities in Macomb County. Two of our employees did go to visit with their records manager. They have Laserfiche system as we do, and they reviewed Macomb's record management practices, current procedures, and the back scanning project that they are conducting through an outside vendor. The importance of the visit is that it provided valuable insights into the best practices, and we will discuss internally whether a similar approach may be beneficial for our future scanning needs. And our overall project, the project remains on track and work is completed to date, continues to position us well for a smooth launch in January, and we will keep the board informed as we move into the testing, implementation, and second phase planning. As far as elections are concerned, I will be beginning in January to kind of have a regular question in the clerk's office. So I'd advise the board of all the most common question asked in the clerk's office every week so that you can stay abreast of what's concerning our residents and what we're getting calls about. But in anticipation of that, there was a recent article that was published, and it's been making the rounds on social media. And I often find that it's important to address those so that people have a full understanding of what they are seeing when they see things on social media. And one of the stories that was written was from the Midwesterner, which is an online news magazine. And in that article, it talked about a lawsuit that has been filed against the Secretary of State and Bureau of Elections by a variety of plaintiffs, myself being one of them. And the reason for that lawsuit, I just want to give you a little bit of background in terms of why that lawsuit was filed, and more importantly, what my involvement is with that suit. Last year, this suit was filed with myself and a couple other co-plaintiffs. We filed the lawsuit because there were contradictory directives being given from the Bureau of Elections and Jocelyn Benson's office, and that was contradictory to the Michigan State Constitution and Michigan election law. So clerks throughout the state, myself included, were put in a position where we are bound by our oath to uphold the Constitution, but we are also bound to follow the directive of the Secretary of State. When they have conflicting directives, or one seems to conflict with the other, that puts clerks like myself and others in a position where we have to choose between which authority we are going to follow. That is why we are appealing to the courts to give us a directive on which supersedes which. It is our position, and I say our in terms of myself and the associated plaintiffs, it is our position that the Michigan State Constitution and Michigan election law takes precedence over the Secretary's directive. And the issue is with voters who live outside of the country. And this has been a very contentious topic. It was all over the news last year. We tried to get the case heard last year. However, because of a legal defense called latches, which basically means the plaintiffs came too late to the court to ask for a fair decision, so therefore it was dismissed. So we have refiled that case on Friday. And at issue is whether or not an individual who has never lived in the United States, never lived in the state of Michigan, can ask for a ballot to vote in the elections. And you might be saying, well, that's a no-brainer, common sense. Of course they can't. The fact is that Michigan election law does allow for people who live out of the country to cast a ballot. Now, the reasons for that is if they were born here or they lived here at any point in time and then moved out of the state, so they no longer live here. There's no timeline for that. They could have moved 40 years ago. But if they moved out of state or out of the country and did not register to vote anywhere else, they can still request a ballot in Chesterfield Township here in Michigan. The issue is that the Secretary of State gave a directive to clerks that an individual who has never lived here, who has never set foot on American soil, may in fact receive a ballot if their parents at one point lived in Michigan. So, for example, someone who lived in Michigan, went back to their country of origin, had a child, that child by birth is an American citizen, also holds dual citizenships. They're born in another country, but their parents are Americans. Parents never came back to the United States, or they came back to the United States, went to a different state. That child who never stepped foot in Michigan, who is now an adult, may ask to be registered here and may vote here. That's the position of the Secretary of State. However, that is at odds with the Michigan Constitution that specifically states that you must either currently live in the state in which you're registered or have formerly lived there and have not registered in another state. It does not allow for children of individuals who used to live here to receive and cast a ballot. So that is what is at odds. Furthermore, Michigan election law states that you must live in the township or city in which you're asking to be registered and asking for a ballot. So both the Michigan Constitution and the Michigan election law are at odds with the Secretary's directive. That is what myself and the other plaintiffs are asking for clarification from the court for. And it's been filed in ample time for the 2026 elections. So if you see that circulating around on social media, that is the issue, and that is why we are asking for clarification from the courts. I'm very pleased and proud to be part of that, because if we don't follow the rule of law here, what it does for our voters in Chesterfield, who I represent and am responsible for maintaining the integrity of their vote and the integrity of the election. If I have individuals who should not by law be voting here be issued a ballot, it is diluting and undermining legitimate votes of residents who live here. So that is our position, and that is why we are bringing the case forward. I appreciate the patience while I finish that long-winded discussion. Thank you, Mr. Supervisor.
Trustee Joseph.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Just a quick update. Our Parks and Rec monthly meeting was last week, sorry. Matt, our one of our Parks and Rec staff stood in for Director Vanderson. He updated us on the just sort of happenings in the township, which is fairly consistent with Ms. Vanderson's department reports. Issues involving a little update from the MedStar blood drive. Highly successful. They collected 34 units of blood, which will stay on MedStar equipment to service. Hopefully they go unused because we won't need it, but those are collected in the community for the community. So it's a new program that MedStar has instituted, and our first collection was on 11/14 and highly successful. Again, the tree lighting is scheduled for December 5th. The winter registration books have gone out and will begin, I believe, on December 10th. There was also a report, the Anchor Bay Giving Tree and Toys for Tots drive is ongoing and available here at the township. With regard to new business, one of the issues that was discussed by the board was 2026 planning and goal setting for the advisory committee. There were a number of great suggestions, and those that I thought were of particular interest and lofty goals were just identifying things that were outlined in the township master plan, specifically the Parks and Rec master plan, and trying to tackle those in the most advantageous way possible. So the area where I was a little concerned, and I talked to the supervisor and a few board members, I don't want to see a situation where an advisory committee, like the Parks and Rec committee, has the belief that individual board members are there to hold township staff accountable. There, of course, is a tremendous amount of accountability that's baked into all of our staff, but interviewing the Parks and Rec director about maybe a complaint that was lodged, park conditions, hours, budgetary issues. Talk to you, Mr. Supervisor. It might be helpful, perhaps when we re-engage in the beginning of the year. We have no Parks and Rec member meeting, a committee meeting in December, but maybe in January, coming in and joining us and just reminding our members what the a healthy advisory committee board does, and reminding people of roles. I think the overwhelming majority of our Parks and Rec commissioners see themselves as ambassadors of the Parks and Rec program. They bring forward ideas and suggestions. Unfortunately, we have a sort of a reoccurring theme with one particular board member who sees his role a little bit more as somehow a watchdog and an accountability person, and that's really not the role, and it kind of takes away from the group. So, but overall, great ideas for 2026. A very, very enthusiastic group of people that bring just exciting ideas to the group month in and month out. Transitioning over to another committee report that I was a part of on 11/20. Our QBS team regarding our single waste hauler met. Those members are myself, Treasurer Elliott, and Supervisor Kersten, along with some township staff, Karen, who was not there this week, but Jennifer Hartung, who provided our group with some very, very valuable information, and specifically what we're looking at as we've taken ample receipt of all of the concerns that residents have brought forward over the last really year with priority waste and billing concerns, pickup concerns, just complaints in general. And what is the township going to do? Rather than wait until we're at the end of our contract, we're looking at options that may be available to us so that when the contract expires, or if there is a need short of the contract expiring, for us to secure proper waste hauling service, that we're not flat-footed. The work that was initially done was to go out to other communities and really get an inventory of any and all appropriate waste haulers that are capable of providing service to our community. The issues that keep coming up with individual vendors, and they're not a tremendous amount, the issues that keep coming up have to do with billing, which I was grateful to have the treasurer in the meeting, because I think we'll have a handle on that when it gets closer. There is a strong request for the billing to be done by the municipality, which is counter to what we've traditionally always done, where the billing is done by the vendor. So that will involve some negotiations and how we do that. But that seems to be an interest by all of the vendors. In fact, a number of them are deal breakers if we don't do the billing. So, and the other issue is something that the priority waste administrators refer to as customer entitlement. And when I asked for an understanding of what that means, basically the priority team said, we have developed a reputation and we inherited our service sort of expectations from the previous, whether it be Rizzo or Green for Life. And that is this idea that whatever the resident puts out at the curb is what's picked up. So we have situations where, you know, you're remodeling your bathroom and you put all the broken tile and all of the broken vanities and everything at the curb. Our trash hauler picks it up. Bulk pickup is an expectation, and in a lot of instances, according to, you know, most of the vendors, that is not a service that can continue at the current rate. That most of the vendors that are looking to bid on our contracts want cart only or container only pickups. And in essence, when you think about it, they would like to outfit a truck with a giant mechanical arm that embraces the can, dumps the can without the need for a staff to be hanging off the back of the truck while it's going through the subdivision. They see a direct correlation to cost, whether it be employee injury, workman's comp, you know, all of the liabilities that go with that, and the lessening of staff when you just have a driver. When you just have a driver and they're only picking up the container, that's a totally different service than the one that we're paying for now. So I bring it up. We're very, very early in the process. We got a lot of information to go over, looking at neighboring communities' contracts and all of the potential vendors. But I think it's something that I wanted to put on the radar early, because when we do arrive at a proposal and a recommendation to the full board, I think there's going to be some changes in terms of not only the cost, but what the service actually provides. And it's going to be different than what we have now. So I know we hear a lot of complaints. I'm hoping that we don't hear more when we fix those complaints. And I'm a little bit worried about the cost, because it's going to go up, independent of who the vendor is, and the service is going to change. But the very first meeting of our QBS team was last week, and we're off to a great start with a lot of information to get through in the coming months. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Trustee Anderson, did I miss you? Oh. Move on to item 7, public comments on agenda item only. 3-minute time limit. This is the public comment section. If you would, your mic is open. You have 3 minutes to speak. If you would, please state your name just for the record. Not required. Mic is open. Agenda item only.
Joe Kadich, live on Sutton. I'm looking at item B, which is a project to do to phase 2A of the DeBent pump station. Basically, I'm looking at essentially a $4 million bill of which $3 million is for the actual construction. There's almost $1 million for other things. Design, somebody to follow the construction, be on site, handle the administration of the site. A number of things that, when we've had the water rate board, one of the things we noted was that we were spending a lot of money for engineering, outside engineering services that could be done in-house with the proper people. We recommended that we hire a project engineer or actually a professional engineer to do most of that work. We hired somebody. It worked for a couple of years. I think the first year when Paul was on, we eliminated about $500,000 in excess engineering work that was done by the outside, that we could do it in the inside. Since then, things have seemed to have turned around. And I don't understand. I worked as a project engineer or as a project engineer manager, and I would never be allowed to get something by the board saying I had a quarter of what I wanted was for outside services that should have been handled in-house. We got a lot of projects coming up here, and I think you should do a better job of figuring out how to do it in-house, at least most of it. A lot of these things we used to call them shelf items. You pick what you want to do, you find that book on the shelf, and you look at it, and it gives you the costs and everything. We don't need somebody to sit here and say, I need $4 million when I can get by with 3. The original thought was that the guy would pay for himself, and he did for a couple of years. But we lost track of what the hell he was supposed to do. And it's our money. Thank you.
James Locke, Chesterfield. Agenda, oops, addendum item A. Approval for lock boxes, lockbox service. As I read it, our township treasurer wants to buy lock boxes or a service from Huntington Bank. Have us mail our taxes, our water bills and that to Huntington Bank. Have them empty out the checks, deposit the money for us, and send a daily update on what they received every day. Now, I thought that's what we had people in the treasurer's office to do. I mean, we no longer, we're going to outsource this. This is what, $21,500 a year. You want $500 out of general fund. You want to take, where was it? The safety department, I believe, I don't know, $1,500 or and that, another $18,000 out of sewer and water. Now, I mean, we just went through this, you upped our water bill and everything because sewer and water department's under. They don't have the money, and you want to charge them $18,000 a year to collect their money? I mean, this is what Treasurer's office has been doing. This is what you have the secretaries there to do. I mean, I know you guys had a big blow up here a couple of weeks ago on the budget, and everybody's sore about what happened, and everybody's trying to find ways. I mean, I see that as a way to have extra money. If you have the bank doing it for you and that, you can use your get rid of a secretary and use her funds to pay for your deputy. Whatever you got going on, I don't know what other kind of bowl this board's going to come up with in the future here, but this has got to stop. You're playing games. I mean, since what? Since you came into office, Joseph has attacked the treasurer, Bossberg, Thornburg, the clerk. He's attacked everybody except Kersten and his friend Anderson. And they've been back at you too. They've been attacking you. This has got to stop. You guys got to take care of business. All this little petty stuff you're pulling, it's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. 21,000 for jobs that are already being done. Think about it, people.
John Speaker, Chesterfield Township, on regular agenda C, to re-enter in a one-year agreement with Hunch Free, formerly Mad Habit Creative LLC. We desperately need that, considering what I've seen since we've moved back here from the community center. We definitely need them back. I mean, there's no excuse why the people at home can't hear the volume, see the audio, and be able to see that board on how the members vote. And again, I ask the members to verbally speak your vote tonight. Thank you.
Any more comments from the public? Any more comments? Move on to item 8, the consent agenda. Clerk Berry.
All items under the consent agenda are considered routine by the board and will be enacted in one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items. If discussion of any item is required by a board member, it will be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. A, approval of the minutes of the regular board meeting of November 12th, 2025. B, approval of the payment of bills as submitted by the Finance Department. C, approval of the payroll report for week ending November 5th, 2025. D, approval of payment for the ICC Community Development Solutions invoice CMS 0027802 for Laserfiche support renewal. E, approve a recommendation by Department of Public Services to pay the annual Eagle fee invoice number 76111360695 in the amount of $13,895.94.
Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as read?
Motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Motion by Clerk Berry, Trustee Vosberg, support. Discussion. I have a motion by Clerk Berry, supported by Trustee Vosberg, to approve the consent agenda as read. If you would please cast your votes. Once all votes cast, it will display. Item passes 7-0. Item 9, public hearings. There are no public hearings scheduled tonight. We'll move into item 10 of the regular agenda. Item 10A. Clerk Berry.
Item 10A is to approve a recommendation from the Sidewalks, Streets, and Pathways Committee to award engineering design services to Spalding DeDecker for the Safe Routes to School pedestrian improvements in the amount of $64,730.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Trustee. Yep. Trustee Joseph, supported by Trustee Vosberg. Was that right? Trustee Vosberg? Mr. O'Connor, it's all yours.
Good evening. The township partnered with the City of New Baltimore and Anchor Bay School District to procure a bid for the Safe Routes to School for some sidewalk improvements near schools. The schedule for the project is to design in '26 and then bid and construct in 2027. So the item in front of you was to award the design services to Spalding DeDecker for the 2026 design for the project. Also, Jeremy Schroet is here with Spalding DeDecker to provide any additional information.
Do you just want to cover the locations that were identified, Jeremy?
Sure. This is for a handful of schools in the area. This is to finish out the sidewalk gap that exists in front of those schools, as well as provide some enhanced crosswalks so we can get from one side of the road to the other safely. We've got 24 Mile at Forest Glade, 24 Mile at Sam's Lane, Sugar Bush at Penny Lane, Hooker Road at Bayview, Sugar Bush at Remington, and 24 at Seaton. So each of those is going to have some semblance of either a sidewalk gap closure and or an RRFB enhanced crosswalk to get pedestrians safely across. Like he mentioned, this is going to be a partnership with the Anchor Bay School District, so a portion of that money goes to the township sidewalks and a portion of that goes to New Baltimore's. New Baltimore will be handling their design, the township will be handling their design, and similar on the construction engineering services when you get into it long-term.
If you don't mind, just for the crowd, a quick summary of what this process is and how limited of a role we really have.
Yeah, so this is the Safe Routes to Schools program. So it's a grant program similar to SEMCOG where the Safe Routes to School covers 80% of the construction dollars. So the township's left with that remaining 20. The township does have to handle their own design engineering and their own construction engineering. It's going to go through a very similar process to the SEMCOG job where it goes through a MDOT LAP process. We have to go through NEPA and SHPO and full design review by MDOT LAP engineers.
Thank you. Questions from the board? Any questions? Trustee Joseph?
More of a comment. I appreciate the work that was done to help secure the grant. Spalding to Decker worked very closely with our team. The mentioning of the SEMCOG grant being very, very similar, I am very proud and I feel fortunate to have the leadership that we have on the state level. Representative St. Germain, who always advocates for us. This is no different, and the grant money that's been returned, I didn't get to mention it during our SEMCOG presentation, but for a number of years, we were not a part of SEMCOG, and Trustee Anderson and I brought forward a motion to re-engage with SEMCOG, and we've been criticized over the years for the membership fees, but not only does SEMCOG return tenfold to the township. In tonight, we got a dollar amount, but we also have access to SEMCOG University, and those are resources and tools that our team can use to access other grants that aren't even SEMCOG grants. So the data that goes into putting forward a competent grant request and being able to confidently reflect the amount of people that will traverse the area that's being improved is critical. And it makes us stand out among other grantees who just go, hey, there's free money available from, MDOT. Well, what are you going to do with it, and how will you maximize the grantee's money goes into the formulation of who gets awarded what. And we're in a better position because of our relationship with SEMCOG and the outstanding representation that we have on a state level from our elected officials. So this was a winner all the way around. And for those who are looking in the packet and see that all of the crosswalk improvements are at or near all of our elementary schools, and what better place to have safer pathways than near elementary schools. And so this was a great project, and thanks to Mitch and the Spalding to Decker team for bringing these grant dollars to us and getting this into the now we're acting, and that's a great thing. So thank you.
Trustee Vosper?
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. It was mentioned this is similar to the process that we got the money for Jefferson. I would say it's 3 times the process. There are many, the Safe Routes to School it's its own program. While we have to follow federal and state guidelines, there's also Safe Routes to School guidelines. And I can understand why it's so complex, because they want to make sure that our children are, safely crossing and have access to walking to school. It's also to look at the improved health of the students by helping them find safe routes to ride their bike and walk to school, whatever. This has been years in the dreaming and making, doing all the work for it, and huge kudos to the Anchor Bay School District. They stuck with the program through thick and thin, and there were times when we're reviewing this and it's like, oh man, we got to go. Now we have to do that, and they just kept doing it. They didn't stop. So, and all the other people already mentioned, it takes a village in this case, so thank you. A township in this case.
Thank you. Any other discussion? I have a motion by trustee Vosberg, supported by trustee Joseph, supported by trustee Vosberg, to approve item 10A. If you would please cast your votes. The results will appear once all votes are cast on the screen. Item passes 7-0. Item 10B, Clerk Berry.
Item 10B is to approve a recommendation by Public Services to award the Demink Bay Harbor Phase 2A pump station repairs to the lowest responsible bidder, Quadrate Construction LLC, in the amount of $3,032,609.10 and a total project cost of $3,956,315.17.
Supervisor Kersten will make a motion to approve. Is there any support? Support. Trustee Joseph. There's some comments made in public comments. You want to kind of cover them, or about the, not relevant? Okay. All yours, Mitch.
Yeah. Good evening again. This is the final phase of the rehabilitation of the Bay Harbor Pump Station. The first phase, we replaced 2 of the pumps. And it was in such disrepair, we had to do emergency work in the first phase. The second phase, we replaced we rehabbed the inlet and the outlet piping. The Augustini did that last year. This final phase will replace the 2 remaining pumps and then fix up the building, the roof, and some other stuff within the structure. At the end of this phase, the station will be basically back to the way it was originally constructed. We had a pre-award meeting with Quadrate, which is affiliated with the Augustini, to make sure they understood the scope and, we're confident in their abilities.
Questions from the board? Trustee Joseph?
Yeah, Mitch, I appreciate you not taking the bait on addressing that, but I will. The engineer and the discussion about the Water Rate Advisory Committee kind of predates you, Mitch, but there was a push to hire a full-time engineer primarily to look at any opportunity that we could eliminate higher cost engineering fees. I don't know why the same individual keeps talking about the township hiring an engineer, and then any engineering item becomes your responsibility. This is way outside the scope of what one individual super engineer cannot possibly address all of the projects that we have currently underway in the township. It's just not humanly possible. I think the individual that keeps complaining about this, he already knows that, and I don't know why the constant attacks. It's just the pattern, but it does not reflect a lack of engineering work that you do. Your trade is engineering. You are our township engineer, but you've also been running the water department. I mean, there is a tremendous amount of work that you do that I'm grateful to have an engineer at the helm. But that doesn't mean that any engineering work that gets done is somehow your responsibility and we're squandering and, fleecing the taxpayers. There's a limit to what one individual can do. Project of this magnitude takes multiple engineers, and that is not an in-house sort of idea. As the chair of the Water and Sewer Rate Advisory Committee that hasn't met in about a decade, I can tell you that the goal was to tamp down some of the vendor costs for tasks that we could do in-house. This isn't one of them, and to insinuate that $1 million of this project is in sort of these static and wasteful ways. The bids that you received and the bids that came in exceeded $4 million for the project. without contingencies and all of the other engineering and so forth. So I think the perpetual, perennial complainant knows that, doesn't allow facts to get in the way at all, just sees an opportunity to stab and does it. But it's not fair to our staff, and it's not fair to imply that there's somehow a wasteful 25% of this project. 15% of this in almost all contracts is attributed to contingencies. They don't know what they're going to encounter, and every bidder has, in addition to their bid, a 15% contingency. There is a 9.2% design fee. There is a construction observation, which is a mandatory requirement. We must have an independent observer. That's being performed by OHM at a cost of $760 a day for 150 days. And then there's a construction contract administration fee of 3%, which totals $90,000. Together, with the Quadrate Construction LLC bid of $3 million and some change, we arrive at 3.9. The 0.9 is not fluff, it's not waste, and it's not something that you can do because you're magically the township engineer and you can cover everything. So this is a capital improvement that's long overdue. Without it, catastrophic flooding occurs in that part of the town. Jefferson is in you're going to need a submarine to traverse Jefferson. And so I'm glad that we had some really quality bidders, and I think you did a good job of presenting to the board the lowest qualified bid in Quadrate. Their reputation is solid, their fees and cost is the lowest, and they happen to be, in my opinion, a great organization. So all in all, this is a solid recommendation, and I'm proud to support it, Mitch. I appreciate you not taking the bait, but it gets hard to see the attacks over and over on our dedicated staff. So I'm proud to set the record straight, and thanks for what you do.
Thanks, sir. Clerk Berry.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Mitch, just for the benefit of folks who may be new to the township or new to this project, that $4 million seems like a lot of money. I mean, it is a lot of money, but this has been a multi-year comprehensive, and it isn't just a repair. I know it's noted as a repair, but this was a complete overhaul of that pump station, and it services a part of the township where it is very densely populated. So could you just, for the benefit of the folks who may not know, could you just, how old was this pump station when we had to begin repairs? How much is the total amount ballpark that we've put in, and how long do we anticipate the life expectancy of this renovation lasting?
The original station was built roughly 1980. No major work was done on it other than to try and keep the pumps running until probably 4 or 5 years ago. The township hired OHM to do a study, kind of put our hands around the project. The first actual work started in 2022 and 2023 with J.F. Kavanaugh. And again, that job really was to replace, all 4 of the pumps were kind of limping along, especially the electric ones. So we, at that time, replaced 1 electric pump and 1 diesel pump out of the 4 pumps that are in the station. And that project cost about $1.3 million about 3 years ago. Last year, it was determined that the outlet pipe coming out of the pump station underneath Jefferson, it's like an 8x10 culvert, the seams, the joints were actually leaking, and we were actually creating, I'm not gonna call it sinkholes because it was so shallow, but the base of Jefferson was sinking, was being removed, so the pavement was sinking. So last year we hired DeAugustini to line that outlet pipe. So now the outlet pipe is basically new, and we also took a lot of the inlet pipe coming into the station and lined that also. And then that cost about $4 million. This year's project is to replace the final 2 pumps, so we'll get all 4 pumps up and running again, and then finish the work on the building itself, the roof, and some other improvements on the building to bring the structure basically back to the way it was built in 1980. So the total, at the end of the day, the township will spend probably about 8.7 million when all's said and done. There's a grant of 4 million, which the township received. And then the rest of the township bonded for some of this remaining funds, and then some's coming out of the general fund.
And how long do we expect it to last, Mitch?
It's got, the pumps themselves have a 30-year life cycle on them. And the building itself is probably we've estimated 30 years for this station with, minor annual maintenance to the pumps. But
Thank you.
30 years is the expected life.
Thank you, sir.
Any more questions, discussion? I'm just gonna throw in, this was one of the biggest projects when I first, got on the board. This was one of the biggest projects that needed to be addressed. We took it on right off the bat. This would have consumed a lot of general fund money. This was a general fund operation because this is a stormwater management. Funds, were lean. We've funded the project. We reached out to the Congresswoman Lisa McLean's office, who did give us the $4 million earmark, community development dollars that offset the cost of this. The general fund did kick in the original 1.5 million. This is the final phase of it, and as Mitch said, it's going to return it to its original design state, and we will institute an operation and maintenance management system for cost once the project is signed off and completely done. So just filling in my 2 cents. Did I miss anything? Thank you. Any more discussion? Comments from board? I have a motion by Supervisor Kersten, supported by Trustee Joseph, to approve item 10B. If you would, please cast your vote. The results will appear on the screen once all votes are cast. Item passes 7-0. Item 10C, thank you, Mitch. Thank you, Jeremy. Or Steve. Clerk Berry.
Item 10C is a recommendation to re-enter into another one-year agreement for contractual services with Hunch Free, formerly Mad Habit Creative LLC, for media project services from January 1, 2026 through December 31st, 2026, in an amount not to exceed $17,300.
Is there a motion to approve? Supervisor Kersten will make a motion to approve. Is there any support? Trustee Osberg? Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
I'll give some background. You guys again we brought you in to help with our video production. It was, I'm not gonna go down the history with Trustee Joseph paying out of his pocket, but it was lacking and we needed to improve. So you guys have been great partners to work with. You definitely raised the bar. We'll continue to do that in your transition with the new company also. I can't say enough about you. Great. You've definitely helped our staff here develop and train, and I hope this gets approved. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Not sure really if I need to say anything about it, but we're going to continue in the proposal to the 26 board meetings and support everything that goes along with that. We did add something this year to do 2 quarterly little snippet videos, executive messages or hot topics or whatever you would want those to be. That would be your choice to do. And then, like the previous years, to produce 1 big video for the year, whether it's for the state of the township or just marketing purposes in general.
Thank you, sir. Treasurer Elliott?
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Hello, how are ya?
I am good. How are
Good.
you?
Can you talk a little bit about Hunch Free, some of the companies that they service, maybe some of their
Sure.
their offerings?
So Hunch Free is a digital marketing company that's based in downtown Mount Clemens. I transitioned to start working with Hunch Free in January of this year. And, from my time being there with Jimmy, we made plans for Hunch Free to acquire Mad Habit Creative, where I now lead all the video services there. But Hunch Free has been around for nearly 20 years. working with a lot of nonprofits. We do app development, website development, social media, marketing, video production services, and regular print marketing materials. Working with many companies, whether it's restaurant, government. We work with the city of Mount Clemens. We work with the Macomb County Board of Commissioners, the Downtown Development Authority, law firms. It's kind of the whole gamut. We're not really limited by the clients that we serve.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further questions from the board? I have a motion by Supervisor Kersten, supported by Trustee Vosberg, to approve item 10C. If you would, please cast your votes. Results will appear once all votes are cast. Item passes 6-1. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, guys.
Item 10D.
Item 10D is to approve a recommendation by Facilities and Operations Department to award RFP number 2025-FO-109 janitorial service 3-year contract to McCoy Maintenance, Inc.
Is there a motion to approve? So moved. Trustee Joseph, supported by Supervisor Kersten. Stephanie, welcome.
Good evening. Thank you for having me tonight. I would like to give you a little update on the process that we go through when we go out to RFP for such a big contract like this. This is our janitorial services for our municipal office and our Department of Public Works. It is a 3-year contract. Back in early September, we publicly posted the bid, and then we made a mandatory walkthrough for this request for proposals. And what that helps us is bring potential bidders into both of our buildings, municipal office and DPW, so people can get a look of the facilities that they would be providing service for. With that mandatory meeting, we had 24 businesses attend, and anybody that was here at this office or the DPW that day, there was quite a few people walking through, getting eyes on our buildings. Of those 24 that walked through, 15 actually submitted a bid. So then what we did, once those bids were received, we thoroughly reviewed each one of them, and we extended interviews to 5 qualified bidders. They were on the low bid to mid bid. 4 interviews were actually scheduled, and we, verified the references and such. So next steps here is coming in front of you today with our recommendation, and then we'll be winding down services with our current vendor and then bringing our new vendor on board. Next slide. So this chart was in your package. What this shows is the 15 bidders and their price for each of the 3 years at each of the offices. So you can see the price range. The lowest price was $5,590, and the highest price was $16,779. Today we're requesting the bid be awarded to McCoy Maintenance, and their amount came in at that $7,300, $7,345. And just to give you a little comparison, their amount came in at that $7,345, and our current contract is $7,545. So it is lower than what we are currently paying. So again, McCoy Maintenance is who was chosen for the recommendation, and just breaking down their price a little bit more, as you can see a little clearer over year 1, the monthly cost at each of the buildings, then the yearly cost, and then when we went through the budget process, we kind of assumed prices would go up, and fortunately, we feel the best qualified bidder had a cheaper price. So you'll see that overall our savings for 2026 at each of those businesses or each of the locations are detailed, and an overall savings of $7,800. And then your bottom right corner shows the total contract price over the 3 years. And we have 3 members of McCoy Maintenance here today, in case.
The bidding, Aztec is our current company?
Master Maintenance is.
Master, okay.
Yes.
So, master maintenance, in order to continue the contract, they put in a bid. These are the people that are servicing our building now,
Yes.
buildings now. Their bid was about 10% higher than the winning bidder. So they're currently doing it for a price that is more than the winning bid. And their expectation, as they were part of the bid process, their expectation was to go up to over $8,000 to service the same contract. So, again, I think it speaks to the work that you do when you put the bid out and specifically what the expectations are. There's no, I guarantee the team from McCoy, having been in the building, knows what they're bidding on because of the way that the bid process was conducted. So always appreciate your work when you present things to the board, and this is no exception. So I'm enthusiastically behind this one, and thanks to the McCoy team for coming in to support their work. So and thanks you, Ms.
Thank
Yenna,
you.
for the excellent work that you do when you present things to the board.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Treasurer Elliott?
Is there any changes to the scope of service from the previous contract?
We have a lot more glass.
We
With
do
our
have a lot more
renovation here,
glass, yeah.
we do have a lot more glass to clean, but all joking aside, we do have a high standard that we are going to keep in this building, of course. You know, we're starting off fresh, and the scope has changed a little bit just because the finishes have changed a little, but really not a larger scope.
Do you want to explain why we got more glass? I'm kidding you. Any further questions? I have a motion by trustee Joseph, supported by Supervisor Kersten, to approve item 10D. If you would please cast your vote, the results will display on the screen once all votes are cast. Motion passes 6-1. Item 10E, Clerk Berry.
Item 10E is to approve the 2026 Charter Township of Chesterfield meeting calendar and to adopt resolution number 2025-41.
Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve as presented.
Motion by Clerk Berry. Is there any support? Support. Was that you, Treasurer Elliott? Sorry. Discussion, Clerk Berry?
This is required every year for the township. We must adopt a township budget for the, or excuse me, township calendar for the next year. Serves as notice of meetings to the public. I think that it's pretty much the same as it's been, except for in the month of December, I believe, there's only one meeting scheduled instead of the, back-to-back. Those have become a little difficult for everybody during the holidays to turn those around quickly. So I think we went down to one meeting in December, but the board can always change that or add another meeting as is found necessary.
Any further discussion? Then a motion by Clerk Berry, supported by Treasurer Elliott, to approve item 10E. Please cast your vote. Votes will appear once all votes are cast. Motion passes 7-0. Item 11, the addendum. Item 11A, Clerk Berry.
Item 11A is request and approval to add lockbox services to the current relationship with Huntington Bank.
Is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Motion by Treasurer Elliott, supported Trustee Vosberg. Treasurer Elliott, you want to address this?
Yes, this is our Huntington bank rep, Mark Hipamaki, and Mark, if you want to go ahead and.
Yeah. So good evening, everyone. Want to thank you all for giving me the opportunity to speak here tonight. First, want to just thank the township for the long-standing relationship we've had with you. It's been a very good relationship since my time at Huntington, and I look forward to continuing that in the future. I wanted to quickly highlight a couple things that really are the benefits of moving to Lockbox. The first is going to be the mail time or mail float. So currently, payments are mailed directly to the township office here. In the future, they would be mailed to a P.O. box. There's two benefits to that for the township. The first being that the mail time that it actually gets to the township for deposit into the account would actually decrease, therefore increasing the availability of those funds in your account and the ability to earn some investment money or investment dollars on those deposits. And the second really being when you mail to a P.O. box, the way that Lockbox operates is that the bank picks up directly from mail processing centers. That cuts out the need to go to local the local post offices, which reduces both mail fraud and decreases the speed at which or increases the speed at which you collect your funds. So there's two really big benefits there. I also want to call out and highlight that the initial estimate that Treasurer Elliott had put together, once the finalized kind of more granular pricing came together, it's actually about $3,000 less per year. So based on the agenda, it's a little less than what you initially had expected on there. And the last thing I just wanted to highlight is that I work exclusively with government customers. So I only service municipalities, counties, states, and local school districts. And some of those, majority of those are in Macomb County. So I work with a number of different townships: Macomb Township, Clinton Township, Washington Township. And it's a process that has been adopted across the board with most municipalities to date. So, I guess if any questions you guys have.
Questions from the board? Trustee Joseph.
The question that I had, and I appreciate the element that was kind of the speed, the availability of the funds, and the way that those payments hit the township coffers. They immediately are then potential interest generators, as opposed to the current process. They come into the township, they're processed, they're sent over to the bank. So you have, extended the process time just in terms of posting. So that's a benefit. My only issue, and I appreciate the reduction in the cost, the formulation that was done, and it actually is lower. My question is more of an internal question, and the breakdown of the funds necessary to purchase this service. The general fund, the estimated annual cost is $500 from the general fund, but $3,000 from public safety and $18,000 from, again, I don't know how the configuration changes with the updated information, but there's a tremendous water and sewer obligation, and equally, well, not nearly as equally, but a disproportionate amount attributed to public safety. So as the taxpayer, I go, the general fund has parameters. You can't really increase general fund revenue. You're waving me off. Am I just wasting time here? Okay, go ahead. I'll wrap it up. So you got a $3,000 outlay for public safety. I'm assuming that's an interdepartment transfer, and an $18,000 for water and sewer.
Yeah.
Quickly put, the water and sewer is water bill money, it's enterprise fund money, and the public safety is SAD. When people think about where their water bill money goes and where their public safety SAD money goes, it doesn't go to processing of their tax money. It doesn't really connect there. And why so disproportionate when, I'm assuming people writing checks to cover their taxes would be a greater amount? What checks do people write to the SAD? What is there that requires, extraction of 3,000? I guess I kind of understand people pay their water bill and they send it to the township, but 18,000 when the outlay is only 500 for the general fund for processing all of the other. Could you expound on that and just walk us through that?
Yes, absolutely. Mr. Supervisor, yeah. So, every single one of the funds, the general fund, the water and sewer and public safety, as well as all the taxing authorities pay their own bank fees. Currently, that's the way it's divided. So for the water and sewer fund, the bank fees are direct charge. So when those bills come in, the water and sewer fund already with the bank fees, those go directly to them. When you're doing tax collection, the summer tax collection is done for the school districts. So what we do with the summer tax collection is that goes into an account that gets interest bearing, that the bank fees are deducted from the interest. So the interest follows the principal. So for anchor-based schools, New Haven schools, Lance Cruz schools, when we collect those funds, they sit in the account for a certain period of time before they're distributed, and that's to allow for checks to clear and various things that have to happen. And then when we calculate the interest, we remove the bank fees. So those are already paid. The summer tax collection is paid for by those taxing authorities, which is the summer school. The winter tax collection has a lot more taxing authorities. Some are the schools, some are public safety, and that works exactly the same. And so that's where proportionately the winter tax cycle works the same way. You have the interest-bearing account, you remove the bank fees, and then whatever interest is left is distributed to each of those taxing authorities. And so we proportionately, one of the smallest amounts that is collected in the winter taxes is through the general fund, is the township taxes. Public safety is a bigger portion of that collection.
Any other questions? I'm gonna just chime in. I am, in my research with Lockbox, I like the technology, I like what it offers the residents, and it removes sort of like a middle person. And I think the benefit that we're gonna gain from it, just on security issues alone that we're experiencing in the world, kind of just eliminates that, or at least reduces it drastically. So for that, I like this concept. What I would ask is, we institute this almost immediately, or January 1? Is there a start date that it's easy to do? That's a question, I guess.
Yeah. So implementation of a lockbox is approximately 6 to 8 weeks. So with the winter tax collection season around the corner, we would not be able to meet the deadline for the winter tax processing. So we would look to probably start with water and sewer box. And then it's about a 6 to 8 week process. So we'd be looking or targeting a February 1st target date to implement. Assuming that, all requirements are met in a timely manner, that's feasible. But, with a go-live date of February 1st, March 1st as a backup in case there's delays or, with vacations and various things over the holidays.
So, again, kind of outside, I'd have to talk to our finance guru. Would we have the ability to, use it for a year and then by line item in what department actually uses it, maybe could reconsider the cost at February of 2027? Say, okay, these are proportionally what department uses it, or just say the general fund is comfortable covering the cost, whatever that reduced cost that is being proposed is. Would that be a good metrics to kind of understand?
I think so, yeah. And, the nice thing about lockboxes is we're not locking into a, multi-year contract that you're obligated to use the service. Absolutely reviewing it at, we look at inflection points typically around 6 months and then 1 year to see how, especially when you're talking about a water sewer box, which is open year-round. With a tax lockbox, you know, we tend to look at a year always because you're talking about 2 tax collection periods. The box is only collecting taxes for about 6 months out of the year as opposed to the full 12-month period. So we look at those inflection points typically for a tax box.
Okay. Trustee Joseph?
I agree with you in terms of the security, the turnaround, the expedited processing. It hits our account faster. And I understood your explanation that the dollar amounts are attributed to the portion of the taxes that are collected. So it's not as if somebody's writing a check for their SAD. It's inclusive, and depending on when it's collected, there are different arrangements with the bank regarding fees, and the fees that are deducted from the interest is why the general fund amount. Fair to say, whether our people are opening an envelope and processing it and then sending it to the bank, or the bank receives it directly, there are fees associated with that transaction. Do we know what the offset is? Because if the consumer then sends it directly to the bank, do we lessen our bank fees? So there would be, I think, internally, the SAD and the water, the enterprise fund are already paying fees. They're already paying bank fees. In this instance, they wouldn't have to pay them twice. It's not a duplicate fee. It's just going to the, you put this together kind of quick, and I appreciate that. But I think Supervisor Kersten, how we internally see this, diffusing workload, and how it's closer to revenue neutral in your explanation. We're already paying bank fees. Now we're going to pay a service to send directly to. We get the benefit of all of the aforementioned things. I'm curious to know if there will be a reduction in our current bank fees because of the processing.
Yeah, so lockbox is not there's a reduction in the bank fees associated with the service the township's using currently for check processing. So the current process, which is used to scan remotely checks into deposit, there'll be a reduction in those fees, absolutely.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Any further questions? Any further explanation? I have a motion by Treasurer Elliott, supported by Trustee Vosberg, to approve item 11A. You would please cast your votes. All votes will, or the results will appear once all votes are cast. Item passes 7-0. Item 11B has been removed. Item 12, public comments. There is a 3-minute time limit for public comments. You are free to speak. If you would, please state your name. Not required for the record, just so we can keep track. Public comments is open.
Joe Kadich, also known apparently now as that individual. And I'm not here to attack Dave. I'm here to point things out that are hurting taxpayers and where money should be spent and what it shouldn't be spent. And your idea or thoughts of what happened, why that engineer was hired, are completely wrong. I'd like to address next the cost of the increase on the water and sewer bills. Based on some figures that Janice Young put together, I looked at my cost per quarter. I use about 20 to 25,000 gallons a quarter. And it looks like my cost is going up about $45 a quarter. That's a hell of an increase. Now, when the increase was announced by Great Lakes Water, it was going to be 5% for water and 5.7 for sewer. And it was supposed to be a pass-through. Pass-through means it's the cost that they charge us. Now, last cost we had was basically we were paying about $1.40 a 1,000 gallons for water, a little more than double that for sewer. So you add that together, and it comes out 30 cents per thousand, using 20,000 gallons a quarter, comes up to $6, $24 a year. You're charging us $180 a year. And you went into it, you didn't show us what the background is, what you're charging for the water now. You refused to do that, all the while I asked you to do that. And it even got worse when we pointed out that you were illegally taking funds out of the water and sewer depreciation fund to the amount of $3 million a year and using them someplace else, which is totally illegal. And then you got rid of the finance director, brought in a company to check your books or redo your books for about, what, $200,000, I think is the total that you committed. And all of a sudden, we went from $24 a year increase to $180 a year. And all the while, I don't see where you ever deleted the initial $3 million a year that you were charging in there. So now we're paying not only the $3 million still included in there for depreciation, but we're paying an extra $4 million.
Thank you, sir.
John, speaker of Chesterfield Township. One of the things that's gotta stop is the personal tax on the residents. The last time I checked, the residents are paying every one of your salaries up there. So I think the personal tax needs to stop, like tonight. Getting back to the last board meeting, there was between the water rate increase and the administrative fee, 4 members of this board taxed the residents about $5 million in this township. $5 million. In support of that was Ms. Hornberger, Ms. Vosberg, Mr. Joseph, and Mr. Kersten. It's a lot, $5 million. I wouldn't have a problem with supporting something if this board, the majority of the board that supported it, did their diligent duty to go through that budget and make every cut possible and make the necessary changes that needed to be made to keep this township functioning and to keep the services at their highest level. I don't feel as a resident, anybody that supported that did that. It's the easy way is to tax the residents. The hard thing to do is to make the necessary and tough decisions to make the cuts necessary. Yeah, there were 2 departments that were cut. The treasurer's office got her deputy treasurer cut. The clerk's department got her deputy cut to part-time. But I didn't see any other cuts. And I definitely didn't see any cuts come from the supervisor's office. I mean, for God's sakes, Brad, you've grown between the supervisor's office, you've grown that department to an amount that is unheard of. I mean, you've got a PR firm. You're the only supervisor that I know in any township that has their own PR firm. You put out a magazine every quarter that costs the residents over $90,000. Now, if there's anybody on this board that wants to dispute what I'm saying, please tell me. But I don't think there is. I mean, the spending that goes on by you, Brad, is out of control. It's ridiculous. You got to start from the top down. And you gotta look at your own departments and departments that you've created. Nobody said anything about that, but yet we're taxing the residents $5 million. That,
Any further comments from the public? Any more comments from the public? Bring it back up here, start with board comments. Trustee Vosberg, start with you tonight. We have a closed session tonight, so.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I just wanted to comment on waste hauler contract. I'm grateful that we have a committee that's taking a proactive approach to it, looking at dealing with it so we're not scrambling at the last minute. And I know that they're very aware of this, but it's probably more of a message to all of us as residents who use these services. That contract that the current waste hauler has is something that they bought when they purchased the previous company. And part of that purchase was to honor the agreement that we had with them. Now, while that's not an agreement that they would, if they were bidding directly with us, they would not agree to all the conditions of that, especially regarding the type of container and how you set your trash outside, things like that. But that, as far as I understand, they are still liable to, they are still obligated, to honor that contract. So, and while we want to continue providing services to our residents, we also need to be cognizant of that too. And I'm not even thinking that you're trying to get out of doing that or anything, but I just wanted us to continue to be aware of that. They knowingly bought that contract. Thank you.
Trustee Hornberg? Trustee Anderson?
Yeah, thank you. I know this issue about the locks box service. I had the opportunity to have a few texts with Treasurer Elliott this past Saturday. Our messages basically were concerning the security of these checks as they float through the public mail, theft issues with that. I'm looking at the total cost of $26,000 for it this year. I believe that's it. And what Trustee Joseph brought up some points, and was also brought up about how this money will pass from the consumer to eventually to the bank. I am making an assumption there will be probably a savings within our workforce within the township to process these checks, and I do hope that we take a look at this when it's up for renewal to honestly see if this is a meaningful expenditure, if it actually is beneficial, or if it's something we should decide to just disregard. Everybody have a tremendous Thanksgiving. Be careful, and hopefully, I know it's been mentioned before, it'll be mentioned again. See you December 5th out here at 7 o'clock for the tree lighting, and now we're into the holiday season. Be careful, and we'll see you then. Thank you.
Trustee Joseph?
Thanks, Mr. Supervisor. Just to pick up the waste hauler discussion, Trustee Vosberg, I apologize if there was any confusion in the existing contract, because there, not only was there an assurance from Priority, Supervisor and I met with, and I think I shared with you, the Priority administrative team back July 31st. We talked specifically about bulk pickup, and they made it clear that they were honoring the contract, and the contract was, the volume was established by GFL and Rizzo prior. They do bulk pickup. The contract specifically addresses bulk pickup. There potentially, when you're talking about the contract language, does not include construction material. So they've always picked it up. But contractually, I don't know if that became an issue. It is not an issue at this point. I think it will be something we'll wrestle with in our next contract. And the comment regarding customer entitlement is developed because of the relationship that our residents have with their waste hauler, and they perceive anything that I put out at the curb is going to be picked up. Contractually, we're in a strong position now. We may not be in the next round. And so for the foreseeable future, at least 2 years remaining on this contract, we will have bulk pickup as we always have. My only intent was to bring it up as something that we've talked about. We are a little concerned about what the future bidders may do. I agree, Trustee Anderson. I was a little confused by the cost when we had the discussion about the lockbox. I think as Treasurer Elliott just sees this unfold and the processing, I honestly don't think that the amount will be fully realized. I think there will be a savings in there, but it takes some time to process winter, summer, and to see. No question at all about the security elements, which are greatly enhanced, and the articles that you sent to the board regarding neighboring communities dealing with check fraud and mail fraud. This is a small fee to assure that we don't have those kind of issues. I just wanted to touch quickly, Mr. Supervisor, on the water rate. I appreciate you allowing me extended time at the last board meeting. I attempted in earnest to explain not only my vote, but the history of the water bill and the water rates. I spent an abundant amount of time addressing one particular resident who comes to the podium week in, week out, came tonight twice, to say there are opportunities for very good ideas, and I wish we could have a dialogue that wasn't so packaged in vitriol and attack. Really made a heartfelt plea to that individual. Not that I care, and I didn't comment at all. Social media presence where there's mocking the board, individuals who are in perpetual campaign mode, individuals who send nonstop emails to the board demanding information. I see the threads that are addressed to you, Mr. Supervisor, addressed to you. I want this information, this information, this information. The email response is entirely exactly what they requested. Nope. You left out this. Email threads that go back and forth, 6, 8 emails deep, followed by FOIAs. The amount of FOIAs that are coming into the clerk's office are, they're not, people can come to the podium and they can say the word illegal. There are illegal operations. There's a defrauding of the government to the tune of $3 million. Or there was a $5 million tax on the backs of the tax. These are all opinion. In order to be illegal, I would imagine that the Attorney General, the prosecutor, people who are charged with, would make a determination. But a resident who has a different opinion can come to the podium and say illegal. Resident who comes to the podium that gives a soliloquy about a scenario where I wake up bleeding and need to call 911 and hopefully they respond, says there is no amount of money that you should spare to provide health care coverage to the heroes of the public safety team. What about the heroes of the water department? What about the heroes that bring fresh water to your house? Do their health insurance costs not matter? Do we continue to spend down the enterprise fund and deficit spend because we have disagreement about how our water, there are just conflicting comments that come forward. How do you spend this money and you're fleecing to this? We start off the meeting with a $300,000 grant from an organization that the same individual said, will you only involve yourself with that organization because you like to go to a lunch that they have every quarter, and this is a waste, it's a fleecing of taxpayer money. No member of that crew came to the podium tonight and said, hey, thank you, SEMCOG, thank you, board, thank you for bringing $300,000 of grant money to improve our safe paths to school. No, not a comment, just more illegal. The reason I'm not going to engage in names and back and forth, and they will be addressed as resident A, B, whatever, because I'm done trying to make the appeal to those individuals. They're on a perpetual complainant tour, a guy that I have deep respect. If you were at his funeral service, you know my fondness for Treasurer LaFata. He routinely sent emails to that got these emails. They didn't have the bandwidth to really process them the way that the author intended them, but they use it as a rallying cry to scream words like illegal and fleecing and all of these things. I received tremendous feedback on my vote on the water bill. One guy who stalks social media and it is just like a real creepy kind of like threatening, I'll see you in your silly snow cone tent and I'll be looking for you. I don't bother with those. The chime-ins from the usual campaigners, perpetual campaigners, talk about the, just silly stuff. The one that got me, a resident by the name of Nancy sent me a message. She said, I voted for you. I thought you were for the people. You increased my water rate. She took issues with particular fees and primarily her irrigation meter. In her world and in her mind, she only uses the irrigation meter for basically a quarter of the year. So for 8 months, 9 months, it's inoperable. And why am I being charged every quarter? She made some valid points. I'll just sum up my vote for this reason. Immediately upon being voted on this board, we had issues with the water rate. When we were in our first board term, there was a proposed increase of 50%, and we formed the Water and Sewer Rate Advisory Committee to look at alternatives. The things that I was concerned about from that day all the way until current day is we didn't spend any real money on our infrastructure. We never had anywhere close to an expenditure in what I would consider to be maintenance of our assets. Then it was 100 million plus. I would say it's probably closer to 150 million in underground assets, and we don't spend really any real money on improving that system. The other thing that I was troubled with was the commingling of departments. The water department, the F&O, and now the Department of Public Works operated under the same hierarchy and the same org chart. There was, in my opinion, an ineffective and improper way that we were keeping track of the water bill money, the enterprise fund. There were too many vehicles that were being charged to the enterprise fund that I think were operated under the F&O or DPW. The metering system and the way that we calculated our bill is ever changing, and it's predicated on however the formula from Great Lakes Water Authority decides that they're going to charge us. We don't have any control over that. The changes that have been made over the last several years have been to separate the DPW, F&O from water department, personnel, equipment, and staff. There has been a concentrated effort on the improvement of our underground assets, so our capital improvement plan makes projected capital improvement expenditures and the attention to detail in terms of what projects cost has greatly improved. We have zero doubt that we've deficit spent for the last several Great Lakes Water Authority increases. We've just simply held the charge to the customer the same, and we've taken it out of the enterprise fund. It was obvious to me. and it should be obvious to anybody that watches this. I agree, Trustee Anderson, I understand, and I apologize to you before I cast my yes vote, because in a lot of ways, I think we were sounding the alarms boards ago about the collision course that we were on, that we should have made these changes sooner. And we did squander opportunities to improve our infrastructure. But we can't do it anymore and argue about what was done in the past. Again, I went way too long, and I tried to appeal to a fellow Water and Sewer Rate Advisory Committee member who was there that helped to explore some of these challenges. I don't know why there's no recognition that our earlier problems of a decade ago are being addressed. They have a dislike for you, Mr. Supervisor, so there's nothing that you can do to change their mind. But the capital improvement projects, millions of dollars are all over the township improving our infrastructure. That money's got to come from somewhere. And if we don't right-size our bill, we will be in a terrible situation, as evidenced by the financial reports that we received when we voted. Again, to Nancy, I am still a vote for you, and I haven't left you. I'm sorry that you see a rate increase as a betrayal, but we are deficit spending. We are deficit spending no matter how it shakes out. And no matter what campaign speech, no matter what four-year campaign comes to the podium and says that water isn't wet, it doesn't make it so. We are deficit spending. We are correcting that, and I voted for the future, and that I hope Nancy can forgive me. The rest, there's no sense in appealing to them. They're going to continue to come forward and sling mud at every opportunity, and that's just the way it is. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Thank you for the additional time.
Thank you. Treasurer Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I do want to, and this is a Thanksgiving season, and there is something to be really grateful for, and it is all of the individuals, Trustee Vosberg, Supervisor Kersten, his assistant Karen, and various department heads, as well as SEMCOG and the school districts, all of the various representatives who have worked on all of the grant money that was gotten for us that we voted on here, both in the Safe Routes to School and then also on the pump station. I'm really, really grateful for all of the work, and I know it was a big task to get both of those done, and that is really something I hope is highlighted in many ways here in the township. It's how much work the staff are committing to get us more grant money, more than I think we've ever gotten, I believe. And that has been tremendous, and we're seeing those effects throughout the township, and truly appreciate that. The other thing is that the tax bills are going to be mailed, and you'll receive every resident will receive a tax bill here over the weekend or on Monday. And if there's complaints about something that you see on your tax bill, please contact myself directly and ask those questions. The employees here are just doing their job, and oftentimes people take disappointments such as what Trustee Joseph has said, and they take it out on the employees, and I'm going to ask the residents to be cognizant of that. There is a newsletter that was included with your tax bills. It has all of the priority contact information, has board members' contact information, their desk phone, so that way you can ask if you have those questions or concerns about something that you see on there. You can ask the appropriate folks. Thank you.
Clerk Berry.
I'd like to wish everyone a very happy and blessed Thanksgiving. Enjoy your family and your friends this weekend, and stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you. First of all, I wanted to just congratulate Fire Captain Rich Schroeder. Rich Schroeder, longtime member of the Chesterfield Fire Department, actually started when I started as a paid-on-call volunteer, retired today. in Rich's normal fashion, and I've always known him this way, quietly had a party in the station, didn't want to make a big deal about it, packed up, changed his clothes, walked out the door with his family. They honored him, all the retirees and all the past firefighters were there. I know we all do, but I wish Rich and his family the best. He's been a great employee, a dedicated employee here. Couldn't have asked for anybody better, and he served this community well. Want to thank SEMCOG, obviously Ms. O'Leary, and all of the representatives from our elected officials, both that came here tonight, Senator Tell, Congresswoman Lisa McLean's office, Alicia St. Germain, and Jay DeBoyer also reaches out all the time, and we communicate with them on a regular basis. And the benefit of communication with this group is not only at face-to-face, Mohammed texts regularly, Senator Tell's staff texts regularly, is Midwest strategy. Midwest has been an asset to this township ever since I came in, and I have to thank Trustee Vosberg for that idea back when I first came in. We had a meeting, a Zoom meeting today with GLWA, and boy, that was interesting. But we'll keep plugging through, and that was in regards to Salt River. Wow, what an organization. Great people, but just an organization. I've always said, and we've done this, and I think we're committed, we have to improve the technology here in Lockbox, which I didn't know much about in the beginning. Kind of studied it over the last 3-4 days. I think that's going to be a benefit. Administratively, as was spoken, I think we can allocate that just in general fund and then parse it out and look at it in another year and see what it comes in. But again, I'd like to get Mr. Adair's input on that and how it interacts with Treasury and Finance and all the departments. Trustee Joseph, I can only say, I've always respected you and what you did on the water rates and your dedication, along with Trustee Anderson and Mr. LaFata, removing all the personal conflicts. I know what that meant, and I know what you did, and I know where your passion was, and that took a lot, and I appreciate it. I think the township appreciates. In fact, I know they do, and to your statement that we're underwater is exactly that. We're underwater. Now, the management of, to your point, that is spot on. We are going to isolate that. We will continue to do so. We've had continuing conversations with Water and Sewer and Mitch and the staff over there. And we will properly allocate those water and sewer funds to that department, and we will manage it. To your point too, Trustee Joseph, about everybody forgets about the network that's underground. You talk about running the department, it's a $22 million operation. We have over 400 million just in water and sewer pipes below ground that nobody looks at. Some of them 70 years old. Again, to the point of, we have a capital improvement plan and we're not stopping. We will invest in in updating. And all I ask to the residents that speak, drive around the neighborhood. Look, we're not sitting on our hands. There's new water line going in. Sewer pipe being updated. To the residents that don't want to pay for their sprinkler meter, we understood it. We knew it. You want to remove the meter, we will accommodate that request. This was not something haphazardly walked into. This township, prior to me, 9 water and sewer studies, including a white paper residents group, and the problem that we ran into was we were falling behind every year. Nothing was ever instituted, nothing was ever changed. To Trustee Joseph's point, we had to do something. You cannot be $500,000 in debt and then looking to go back to the residents and say, oh yeah, not just 20% or 15%, we're going up 50%. Just so you know, our bulk rate is up for, our contract is up for renegotiation, along with GLWA's already discussion of rate increases coming. So I don't know where you as a resident are going to stand. I get nobody is happy about it, but burying the head in the sand and ignoring it was not going to help us out. I too, I'm offended by the use illegally. The absolute disrespectful. There's nobody here doing anything illegally. No one. And for a resident to come to the podium and even state that word, you get dismissed right away, and I will continue to dismiss you. That is uncalled for. No one here is breaking laws. To the resident that says, we have to stop attacking the residents, nobody's here attacking them, it's being challenged. But yet that same resident comes to the podium and literally go on the item that he approved with the video company and look at the history and look at the comments that he's made. Again, uncalled for, unnecessary. If you have a disagreement, state your grievance, we'll look at it and we'll move on. We're here to try to fix it. If we can't fix it, we'll tell you we can't fix it. Other than that, we do make hard decisions every day, every day. With that being said, we got a closed session. I'll make a motion to go into, Clerk Barry, you want to read item 14A, closed session.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I will actually make a motion to enter into closed session to consult with the township attorney regarding trial and settlement strategy in connection with specific pending litigation in the matters of Prime Site Media LLC versus Chartered Township of Chesterfield, U.S. District Court, docket number 225 CV 13058, and in the matter of Outfront Media LLC versus Chartered Township of Chesterfield, Macomb County Circuit Court, docket number 25003297AA, both pursuant to sections 8(1)E of the Open Meetings Act. In addition, would like to make a motion to go into closed session for the board to discuss labor relations strategy pursuant to section 8C of the Open Meetings Act.
I have a motion by Clerk Barry. Supervisor Kersten will support it. Clerk Barry, call the roll.
Clerk Barry, aye. Supervisor Kersten.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson. Aye. Trustee Joseph. Aye. Trustee Hornberger. Aye. Trustee Vosberg. Aye. Treasurer Elliott.
Aye.
At 8:57, we'll recess for closed session. Supervisor Kersten will make a motion to return to open session. Supported by trustee Anderson. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Opens their return to public session at 9:41. There's action items resulting from the items discussed. Clerk Barry, I'll defer to you.
Mr. Supervisor, with regards to pending litigation in the matter of Prime Site Media LLC versus Charter Township of Chesterfield, U.S. District Court docket number 225 CV 13058. I make a motion to direct the township attorney to proceed with negotiations with amendments as discussed in closed session.
Motion by Clerk Barry, supported by trustee Vosberg. Discussion. Clerk Barry, call the roll.
Clerk Barry, aye. Trustee Vosberg. Trustee Anderson. Trustee Joseph. Trustee Hornberger. Treasurer Elliott. Supervisor Kersten.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor. Yeah, we'll do the same thing. Yep. Mr. Supervisor, with regards to the matter of Outfront Media LLC versus Chesterfield Charter Township, Macomb County Circuit Court docket number 25-003297AA, I'd like to make a motion to direct the township attorney to proceed with negotiations with amendments as discussed in closed session.
Supervisor Kersten will support that. Discussion from the board. Seeing none?
Can I just make
Yep.
just one clarification to that, Cindy? That is not to proceed with negotiations, but to direct me to settle the case with the amendments that we discussed in closed session.
I'll amend my motion to read that the direct the township attorney to settle the case with amendments as discussed in closed session. Thanks.
Continued support. When you're ready, call the roll.
Clerk Barry, aye. Supervisor Kersten.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson. Trustee Joseph. Trustee Hornberger. Trustee Vosberg. Treasurer Elliott.
Aye.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn by trustee Joseph, supported by trustee Anderson. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Adjourned at 9:43.